for some Nittany Game Week overtime as Jay sets the clock for about 10 minutes. I see you working over there, Jay, on the clock. Tom fixing his collar.
You weren't supposed to see that.
I saw it. I got this peripheral vision going.
You
right?
weren't supposed to see
that.
that.
Guys getting open here and Tom over here adjusting his collar. I'm Todd Sadowski, Jay Paterno, Tom Bradley. Time for overtime. We got a bye week to rest up. The players do. We don't. We get plenty of rest, hopefully, and we just sit here and talk about some football. Look, they have taken care of business to get to the bye week, 5-0, undefeated. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's get to the defense, because the defense deserves to be talked about first, Tom. They are controlling the narrative.
It's about time, isn't it?
They're controlling the narrative. So talk about that part of it.
The whole narrative right now, because they're making it very easy in the offense with the turnovers. They're creating field position. They're doing all those things to make it easier on the offense to perform.
There's 8 scoring drives in the last 3 games, 7 or 8. That were 40 yards, touchdown drives that were 40 yards or less. That's incredible. That's an incredible number. It's turnovers. It's the 2 turnover on downs that Northwestern had that set you up. And you know what? That's how you win games.
Yeah, we're going to self-scout, right? That's what happens this week. You guys take a look at the defense, the offense, and self-scout. There's always areas to improve on. But when you look at the key areas, the defense gets them started to get the ball back, the time of possession that the offense then takes it over and does something with it, the red zone efficiency with the offense. We'll discuss that in just a second. But again, Tom, the charge that the defense gives the rest of the team, knowing that these guys are in control, the depth. What are you seeing from the defense as to why they can control it?
They're in control for a reason, though.
Yeah.
Because when you can run the football, and this happened to me when I was up there, when people say, oh, you played great defense, I go, we're not on the field for 43 plays, because the offense is doing a great job running the ball, which makes it easier on your defense, and the other teams get nervous. Well, if we don't get points on the board, we got to do different things here, because if we give the ball back, we might not get it back for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's why we say they're controlling the narrative, is because I think the defense is setting that pace, setting that tone right away, and then the offense is making the adjustment off of that and doing a great job with it. That's the phrase complementary football, both sides working together. So let's switch then to the offensive side of it, that the offense is not just avoiding the turnovers. Talk about everything that the offense is doing to take that from the defense, right? They're taking their cue. They're being a little bit more safe with their decisions, with where they're throwing the ball. They're avoiding turnovers. They're plugging it in the end zone, doing all the things that they need to do. 12 consecutive games with more than 30 points, Jay.
Well, what you're going to see on the scouting report when we have Nittany Game Week this week is you're going to see exactly where the ball's being thrown, exactly how it all ties together, and why this offense in terms of yards per play is way down. However, that's the game they're willing to play right now. They're willing to play against some of these offenses that the defense can control. So the only way they're going to lose to a team like Northwestern is if they turn the ball over. And even when they did on the first turn of the year, they got 3 points out of it. So they feel very confident in their defense. So as a result, they're not going to put a quarterback in a situation where he's going to make some bad decisions and turn the ball over. And that's going to be critical, because the offenses that are going to play are going to get a lot better as we go.
Yeah. So they had 3 games with the Big Ten West, 102-23. What are we talking about, right? I mean, yes, there was a little bit sleepy. You mentioned it, Tom, before. Look, Northwestern is just coming off that electric game, the whiteout, 11 a.m. local start time. It's a low-energy type of environment. It took them a little while to hit the snooze button and get rolling, but once they did, they rolled right over the Wildcats.
Northwestern, to me, I think is a big home field advantage for them, because I remember times we were up there, you could hear the people talking in the stands in pregame. There's just not that hype that you get into the whole thing. One of the things that's really got me a little bit as we've been getting involved in this thing, I think the defense is setting the tone right now, but they're going to come across a couple teams that the offense is going to have to pick it up, because right now in the Big Ten, I think 3 of the top 6 or 7 defenses in the country are in the Big Ten, and Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State.
Well, when you look down the road in terms of the offenses, the 3 Big Ten teams they've played, their offenses they're not even serviceable. I mean, you're talking 100th or worse for a couple of them. So the defense has been able to dictate the tempo of the game and completely control them. The defenses that the Penn State has played so far, Iowa's 38th, 39th. The other 2 aren't very good. Illinois has not been very good, and Northwestern hasn't been very good. So their ability to try and kind of ride that when they play some of the better offenses and some of the better defenses, that formula is going to have to change a little bit, but it's still going to come down to turnovers. If they can get the turnovers and avoid them, That's how you're going to beat the teams you got to beat down the stretch.
Well, one thing that we didn't talk about is it's time for a big play in the kicking game. You're going to need one against two of those opponents coming up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that because the next point we want to get to is another perfect September. I mean, this team's just been lights out to get the season started. You can't get to where you want to get to at the end of the season if you don't start off fast. How about 25-1 over the last 26 September games? The last loss in September was to Ohio State, I believe, on the 29th of 2018. That's taking care of business within your early schedule and getting you to a point where you're ranked in the top 10, maybe the top 5, and then try and reach those goals from there. But the second half of this season is going to look very different than the first half of the season. Maryland, Michigan, Ohio State, those three offenses, the defense is going to have to deal with. But like I said, you can't get to your goals until you take care of business in September. As coaches, how much do you like to see that? Starting out of the gate fast, and you get your business taken care of in September.
Well, they remember what you do in November more than September, so we'll see. But I think you got to win the games you got. Now, I'll be very curious to see how they do next year in September if we ever see a schedule from the Big Ten. Remember, Pat told us it's going to be mid-September. We're in October, so no schedule from the Big Ten yet. So, but I think the reality is this, is that they've taken care of business. They've played well. They start out fast. And now, and again, they've kept guys healthy. And that's part of what happens as the season goes on. And that's the wear and tear. That's why an off week this week is really good. Allen was dinged or not dinged. You know, they don't really reveal injuries, but he didn't come back in the game. Potts did a nice job for him, but you know, where's these 2 weeks off will help him get healthy if he's dinged up. But that's going to be critical.
Maybe 3 weeks off really because they have better personnel across the whole board with Massachusetts. So how much is he going to really have to play against Massachusetts? So you might get a nice long rest from. If you're going to talk about it in the proper way here, they're so much better than personnel-wise that they have a chance now to maybe rest them a little bit longer because of who they're playing.
That brings up the point of Trey Potts, who has really stepped up to get the job done. 2 touchdowns last week. He's thrown a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and rushed a touchdown. So really somewhat of an unsung hero the first 5 games. And look, we've seen what happens when teams get derailed in September, though. There's transition. There's not always those guarantees. And I think that's the impressive part about it is you have a new starting quarterback this year. No hiccups, no bumps in the road. They took care of business in September. Years ago, that was the same case with Clifford. They take care of business for the most part. You know, you lose a game to Pitt early on in that one season, and it hurt them all the way through when you lost the September game. So great job by the staff, great job by the team to get through September nice and clean. Let's move to the fan questions. We really appreciate you submitting your questions at NittanyGameWeek.com for our overtime discussions. We're going to start with Wendy and some NIL confusion. This whole NIL thing is confusing. Wendy, you're not the only one. A lot of people feel that way. We're hearing lots of stories about collectives and players getting deals like the quarterback from USC. How does this all work? Jay, we're going to throw it to you, but what Wendy is referencing is that Caleb Williams, it's out there that if he stayed at USC, he could make more money in NIL deals than by going pro to the NFL and also control the teams that he potentially could play for. I believe there's a list of 5 that was sent out there. I don't know how confirmed that report is when it comes to that, but I think it's the idea that we want to discuss, and I think Wendy is asking about.
Well, I think the best way to break it down is this, because we could go for 45 minutes on this without any problem.
And we don't have 45 minutes. You got a timer.
So anyway, really, there's kind of a group marketing type deal that a collective puts together for a certain number of guys in a team. For example, you know, you might have all 85 scholarship players on a collective, a group likes marketing, whatever it may be, or the offensive line. Those generally come through collectives. Deals like Caleb Williams has, those come through agents. So the idea that a collective should go out and get a Wendy's commercial for a Penn State player, for example, that player's agent, Drew Allar's agent, does not want a collective to make that deal because they have to give the collective a cut, and the agent wants a cut. And so there's really 2 levels to it. And the agent part is really market-driven, whereas the collective group things are generally more driven by let's give everybody something. And it's borderline pay-to-play at some places, but those are the 2 different levels that are involved.
Yeah, and so we'll see where it goes from here as NCAA, has legislation, has revenue sharing, like all those
I
issues
just want
keep
my
coming
cut.
up. Yeah.
Where's my
Well, all I know is that without a Speaker of the House now, it's
as
certainly
Tom
not
Bradley
going to
gets involved, all that kind of stuff. So Wendy, unfortunately, it's still going to be confusing for a little while until kind of the smoke clears and we see. But thank you for the question.
Yes.
A question from Stu that I don't know if we have the answer to at this particular point, but a comment we all like to make. Saving the Roar. Any idea where one can watch this movie? I have looked everywhere with no success. Thanks. Can it be purchased? I didn't get a chance to research this, but we saw the question from Stu. All we can say is they did a really nice job with Saving the War, so we can see why Stu wants to see it.
Yeah, it was about the 2012 season. They did a great job kind of telling that story, including Silas Redd was in the movie talking about why he transferred. It was very emotional. So I think it was really well done. It was available for a while. I researched a couple of streaming services last night. I have not seen where it is available, but if I do find out where it is, we will certainly, Stu, will email you back and let you know.
Yeah. Sounds good. And, maybe the person who documented the documentary, if you get that information, can reach out and find that. And finally, from Veronica from Mexico. Hi, from Mexico to Jay. I remember you stayed and your family forever. We are Penn State, she says. We love the show and with love to the sky. And I mean, this is reaching out. I mean, who knew? I mean, when we got Tom involved, we knew we'd be global. But we weren't sure.
This is all me, dude.
This is him.
I spent a week in Mexico City with
I know that.
with Eduardo.
But still, we the stuff we get from Tom and we hear with him as well. But go ahead. This is your connection.
Well, Eduardo at the National University of Mexico, which is in Mexico City, 100,000 students. They have several football teams. As of 2005, maybe 2006, whatever it was, we went down and spent time with them. They've been playing American football for over 100 years down there at that university. We had an absolute blast. Eduardo is one of the great people, rest in peace, that you'll ever meet. And they came up to Penn State, Tom, you remember, for years and years and years, partly because they had a connection with the Steelers, and then they would drive up. And if you go watch Steeler games, there's almost always a Mexican flag in this because they have this massive following.
Yeah. I used to enjoy when they used to sit in our meetings because they get on the board and we'd go back and forth on the board with what they liked and what we were doing, and it was really we got to know them very well because they came every year. They even the guys on our team got to know them by their first names.
Yeah, they were the Pumas, by the way, which is essentially a Nittany Lion.
Wow, neat collaborative effort to get together and just talk football, and we always say like the football family is kind of small in that way, but really connected all across the country and beyond the borders over to Mexico. And so that we really appreciate Veronica reaching out and saying hello to Jay. We appreciate you tuning in to Overtime. That's what we have. Make sure you tune in to Nittany Game Week. Our Impact interview guest is Blair Thomas. He is always a blast, so we're looking forward to catching up with Blair. You can catch, obviously, the abbreviated part of the interview for the actual show that airs all across the network and that type of deal, but we'll have the extended conversation on Nittany Game Week as well. So for Tom and Jay, I'm Todd. Thanks for watching Overtime.